During your fat loss phase, there will be times where it's actually going to be necessary for you to eat more food, for you to do a refeed / high carb day protocol. And this is one of the weapons in the arsenal you can use and I have used for many different reasons to get the Gorilla Platoon results. On that, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Tom Sergey. I run the Gorilla Platoon, which is an online physique transformation program where we get men to look fucking sick, and then we just speak about how we did it online so you can replicate that and apply it into your own lives. So let's roll straight into this video. When do you run a refeed? There are many reasons as to why this would be necessary. For context, I probably wouldn't run one until you're at least 8-9 weeks into your transformational fat loss journey, and that's providing you started at a leaner level, maybe around 20% body fat. If you're sitting around 30, you're not going to need to run this for about 15 weeks or so. Now, the first reason you may need to run this is if you start to look flat. And that is going to allow you then to collect some data to see what you look like full and how much, or specifically how many carbs it took to get you full. That is what we're going to be looking at here. So when do you look flat? What does that look and feel like? Well, we'll go back to this picture in the very start because this is what a guy would look like flat. This is where the muscle is not filled with glycogen because there's a lack of carbohydrates through the calorie deficit. And the muscles aren't pushing tight against the skin. So it gives you the perception that you feel skinny. It's not that you're feeling skinny, it's just that the muscle is not full. Look at this as like the difference between a water bottle that is completely full, you could throw it and bounce it off someone's head, whereas if you emptied some of that water out and then emptied some of the air out and then put the lid on, it's all squidgy, isn't it? So that's what a muscle is like when it's not full. So the reason why you'd want to do this is you want to see how the individual or yourself looks like when you've had carbs in there. So that's one reason why you could do it. Another reason would be that you've been in a deficit for a fair amount of time and then your performance in the gym is starting to dip. Now, we obviously don't want this because gym floor performance is the biggest reason you're going to build and retain muscle tissue. So therefore, we're going to want to uphold some training performance by running a high carb day. Another reason you're going to want to do this is your body fat is not shifting. I would say that's probably the most important part, really. This is a weapon in your arsenal you can use in order to get things moving. Because essentially, if you just ran with the same deficit, your body would eventually grind to a halt in the instance where it just thinks it's in pure starvation mode and it's trying to hold on to that body fat. What this will then do by filling you back up, you could say almost like tricks the body into thinking it's getting more food again. What really happens from a subconscious level is you'll end up moving more. Like your NEAT, your non-activity exercise thermogenesis, will be higher just because you've got more food inside you. If anyone that's dieted before, it gets to the point where like if the remote control is over the other side of the room and you don't really care that much to change the channel on the TV, you just won't go up and change it. But when you're full of food, you're like, fuck it, right, this is boring, let's go get something else and change it. Your body will find ways to just conserve the energy that it has because you're eating so little. Now, prior to the last photos, I like to run this. That's how you get that veiny, ropey look that you saw from the initial photo, and to get that fuller, nice look for the photos. But also, as you do it midway through, it's the process of filling you back up to see how you look under condition. That'll last for 2 weeks. You'll then be dragged flat again, and then you'll keep repeating the process. So there's some options as to when you could run a refeed. Nice and simple, how do you run a refeed? So you're going to increase carbohydrates, and you're going to do this by, first of all, taking your current lean mass. This would be where you're at from a body fat percentage, minus that off your scale weight. That will give you your lean mass in kilograms. Now, it can be for anywhere from times 8 to times 12. I always go times 7. I like to proceed with caution as opposed to just shooting my load and going too high, especially if this is the first time running it, because you're just there to collect data. And when you've run a high day, you'll either find that you wake up the next day and you're full and tight, perfect. You're full but spilled, which means you've gone too much, and that will have that watery look on the condition. Of course, if you're not fully lean yet, then that will also, that's why you want to be careful, because if you're not lean yet and you go really high, you're going to get that real soft look. And then secondly, the last one you'd have is still flat, which means potentially you can go a bit more next time, and that's food for thought to trial, and that's why it's good to trial this earlier on. Simultaneously to upping carbohydrates to that number, so it's lean mass times by 7 will give you a certain number. That's the amount of grams of carbs you're going to have. You're going to simultaneously pull your protein down by about half of the total daily intake is what I tend to go for. Remember, there's 4 calories in both protein and carbs, and it allows for that refeed to go in without the calories being so high. Your fats aren't really going to move. When you do run this day, I wouldn't train or do formal cardio. I would do steps only. I'd hydrate well, and I'd also have 6 grams of pink salt. Now, it depends on the time of the day you train. If you're a morning person, I would wait to train the next day, and then you're going to get the photos as well after that training session. If you're an evening person, you can train in the evening, bearing in mind you would have had a load of the meals leading up to that, which I have done as well myself, and that also works quite well. So it just depends. If you're a later person, you can you can train on the day of the refeed. If you're a morning person, you're going to train the next day to see how that looks. And that is essentially it, really. That's make sure you're going to track your scale weight daily anyway over this process. You're going to track your photos on the day of and the day after to see how you look, and also with a pump. So that is when you're going to run a refeed and how to run a refeed. Hopefully you found this video useful. If you did, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you tomorrow.